Yo, what's up, dudes? Welcome back to another video. So quite a few people have asked me to talk about Ready or Not being banned for purchase in Australia. Now, for those of you that don't know, Australians are unable to purchase a copy of Ready or Not on the Steam store as of a few days ago. Some Australians have mentioned that you can still purchase the game with the LSPD bundle deal that includes all the DLCs, including the base game, but this has been quickly debunked, as once you go to the process screen for processing the transaction or whatever, it shows like a grayed out button and you can't click on it. It doesn't let you continue the process. Now, I believe this ban was put into place right after they announced the console release for Ready or Not, which is kind of crazy considering the game has been available for purchase for PC since 2022. Now, all of a sudden, when the developers announced they want to do a console release, Australia decides to ban the game. And it does kind of make sense considering there's a huge market for console gamers. Not everyone has the money to buy a PC, and with that, not everyone wants to be a PC gamer. So you have quite a few people who are strictly console players that will purchase this game because it's a fun game, and there's really isn't any other realistic SWAT shooter like it available right now. And I know for a fact there's a massive number of console players that have been waiting quite a long time to play Ready or Not. And the game does feature some truly dark content. There's a mission where you raid the house of a sexual predator, and once you clear the house, you find this underground bunker with evidence of child exploitation, and it is a truly disturbing yet realistic experience. And there's plenty of levels that show some dark but realistic themes. But that's why the game is so popular, because the developers aren't afraid to portray these realistic scenarios that occur in real life. They aren't afraid to show off these situations that real police officers have to respond to. This is the reality for SWAT teams in real life, and there's no reason to sugarcoat it. The Australian government is absolutely blowing this out of proportion. It's not like the game features scenes of children being exploited or anything of that obscenity. Yes, it is a disturbing topic, but it all depends on the context, and here I don't believe the context is anything to be overly sensitive about to cause this type of reaction. So from the research I've done, there is no record of Australia banning Ready or Not. If you go to the list of banned video games in Australia over on Wikipedia, you'll find that Ready or Not is not on that list. And to be honest, I've never seen this list of banned games before, and it is a pretty massive list. Quite a few popular games have been completely banned from purchase over there. One of the most recent games on record being Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I've never played these games before in my life. It was supposedly banned because of implied sexual violence involving minors. Now, after doing a bit of research on that myself, there is a scene in the game where a character named Hisoka, I think I'm saying that correctly, if not I apologize, beats a child character. And supposedly there's some very weird things about this character in particular as well. And to be honest, this does sound a bit strange from what I understood just looking it up, but I haven't played the game and I haven't seen any of the anime or anything like that, so what do I know? But from what I understand, it could be considered understandable to ban this game in particular just due to what I have seen from this character and I guess what this character has done in like the animes and stuff. And there are some examples of understandable reasons to ban the game due to similar content such as this. However, where I fail to see an issue is with Wasteland 3, for example, which is also banned, and it was banned due to drug use related to incentives and rewards. Like what? They did, however, release a censored version later on, but I'm so lost as to what the big deal is with drug use in video games. These games are rated for mature adults, and yes, sure, I understand that kids can get their hands on games. At the end of the day, this just seems like a ridiculous reason to ban a game for purchase. The same thing happened with Fallout 3 in 2008. It was banned because they originally called it Med-X, morphine. Like what? You've got to be kidding me. This is exactly what they're banning games over there. And eventually they did change the name and they did universally change it. It wasn't just in Australia. So the entire world had to have this name changed because of them, which really, who cares? It's not really that big of a deal, but it's still such a bizarre thing to ban a game over. And there are countless games over there that have been banned for silly reasons, and to be honest, I just feel so bad for Australian gamers that they have to put up with this lunacy. But what I find so weird about this whole thing is with how Australia bans games is the department that's in charge of making these decisions. So basically how it works is before any media such as films or games gets released, it has to be reviewed by the Australian Classification Board. They review the product, and if it contains any work deemed too inappropriate, the product may be refused classification, meaning it is banned from being sold completely. It is even documented by the Australian Customs and Border Protection Service, and any such copies of the banned products will be seized at the border, and you may be fined up to $110,000 for attempting to bring it into the country. And there's a huge list of criteria that a game has to meet before it could receive a refused classification rating. If the game features detailed instruction or a promotion in matters of crime or violence, violence with a very high degree of impact or which are excessively frequent, prolonged, or detailed, cruelty or real violence which are very detailed or which have an extremely high impact, illegal drug use, depiction of sexual assaults, and child exploitation. There's a few other things here, but it kind of just goes on and on about some ridiculous shit. And yes, there's a few criteria here that I didn't name off because I'm afraid YouTube is going to throw a massive fit, and I really don't want to have to deal with any of that, to be honest. But either way, yes, there's some things here that I think is somewhat justified. However, other than Hunter x Hunter, which I think is kind of in a gray area because it doesn't really show anything sexual in nature as far as I'm aware, what other games have released that show off blatantly illegal material? This isn't even allowed in the United States, but violence and drug use, really? This is just censorship, and that's all it really is at the end of the day. And Australia isn't the only country that suffers from this garbage as well. It just goes to show that the Australian government is soft, and the rest of the world is becoming soft as well, including the United States. It's just ridiculous, and I feel so bad for those in Australia that want to buy Ready or Not and try out the game, and they can't. It truly is a great game, and it offers one of the best police SWAT simulation experiences that you can't get from any other game. But apparently in Australia, the game offends against their standards of morality, so they ban it. Apparently those that have already purchased the game are fine, as taking the game away from them would be illegal. So at least there's a good number of Australians that can still play the game, and they aren't getting the game taken away from them. But either way, the situation is ridiculous, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.